My name is Charlotte LaFranc. I'm the Diversity Outreach Coordinator for the Society. I will be your MC for this morning. We're going to turn it over to one of our youth, Sebastian, who's going to open with a land acknowledgement. Sebastian, come on up here, my friend. Oh no, you have to go on the microphone. All right, see? Go ahead.
All right. We would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather is the tradition territory of Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe and Odawa and Potawatomi people.
All right, thank you, Sebastian.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, so it's always important to remember where we stand as we gather. So to get things started this morning, I'm going to introduce our Executive Director, Drooler, to bring greetings on behalf of the Society.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for your participation in today's event, which is an opportunity for us to symbolically show our commitment. And your commitment doesn't end, and your way of being and working with your community doesn't end with raising these flags. It's our signal to you. It's our opportunity to be committed and to then put into practice what we're committed to. So I've got some notes because sometimes I go off script and I get the weight, like, go back on script. So the Windsor-Essex Children's Aid Society is committed to providing services that are open, inclusive, safe, and affirming to all children, youth, and families. We recognize that the kids we serve have many different identities, experiences, and needs. In order to support them all equally, we need to think and act differently. As Pride Month begins in Windsor-Essex County, we take this opportunity to affirm our commitment to the safety and well-being of all the children, youth, caregivers, staff, volunteers, and community partners. We raise the pride and trans flags today to celebrate all diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions. We raise the flags today to acknowledge the historical and present-day struggles of the LGBTQ communities who still face discrimination and oppression. So we raise our flags as a symbol of our willingness and our work with community partners and all the families and children we serve. So we do this with a symbolic gesture, and we know we have to do this in a more meaningful way. So thank you to coming out today and help us recognize and celebrate.
Thank you very much, Derek. So this morning we have a couple of wonderful speakers for you, and we're going to bear with the wind here, so bear with me, that are really going to try to lift up some different voices from our community. One of the things we've tried to do is to try to bring as much opportunity for different people to speak in their own words and their own voices. So our speakers this morning reflect the diversity and the richness and the vibrance of our community. Each are trailblazers in their own way. So our first speaker is certainly a trailblazer. As a former youth in care himself, he has taken his lived experience, his knowledge, his skills, and his passion for helping others to create Canada's first and only dedicated foster care agency, which is dedicated to serving LGBTQ youth. Certainly 514 are friends of ours. We're good friends with Chad, of course, and with Lou, who's a former WECAS expat. And we're thrilled to have with us this year Lucas Medina.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. I've actually been in Toronto the last couple of years and moved back to Windsor 2 days ago. So it's great to be back in Windsor. It's a great community. And, you know, it's Pride now. And it reminds me of the first time I came to Windsor, really, was about 5 years ago. And I first was at Motor City Pride across the river this one day. And there were a bunch of same-sex couples performing a symbolic marriage ceremony while they continue to fight for equity and to be able to get married legally in the United States. And then we came back. Then we came back to this side of the river and went for lunch at Squirrel Cage. Some of you might know it's a great place downtown. And they were closing early because of a wedding reception. And so on our way out, this big parade of queer people were coming to celebrate the wonderful wedding of a lesbian couple who had gotten married on this side of the river at the same time that we were on the other side of the river with these couples who didn't have the right to exercise that. And I think about how this is the third time WECAS has raised the pride flag here. And some of you might not know this, but Michigan didn't allow same-sex couples to foster until the new governor, who took over in January, passed a declaration in March saying that they will not provide any state funding to any agency that discriminates against same-sex couples. So I keep thinking about how important this flag raising is. Because people talk about Windsor being Canada's front door. But for some people who are on the other side of the river and don't come over here, Windsor, this part of Windsor is their window into Canada. And so there are people on that side of the river for the last few years who have wanted to have families, who've wanted to foster and haven't been able to. But this beautiful symbol of WECAS raising a pride flag was a symbol of hope for them. This is something that they'll be able to do someday. And this is the first year that they're going to be able to do that. And, we're a community on both sides of this border. And it's great that WECAS is this great symbol right on Canada's doorstep, showing how great our country is and what hope they can hope for in the States. Because, I was with the Catholic Children's Aid Society in Toronto, which still to this day deems same-sex couples unacceptable to adopt. They can foster, but they can't adopt. And when you grow up in a society, in a system that says people like you aren't acceptable, it really affects how you feel about yourself and your self-esteem, and you don't feel safe coming out. And so, again, across the river, there are kids who are in care who don't feel safe coming out, and seeing the pride flag raised here means a lot to them. And I'm really glad that Windsor-Essex CAS has really stepped up for years now and shown by example how to lead. And so I'm glad to be here, and thanks for coming, and happy Pride.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you for a little international perspective. It's a reminder of how far we've come, but how fragile it is and why we have to keep doing the work that we're doing. So our next trailblazer is certainly a friend to this agency. Many met Jace last year for the first time when we raised the trans flag for the first time, and she had such a powerful speech that we said we have to have her back. She's since been back to our agency to speak to our board of directors and many groups of staff over the last year, and has had a tremendous impact, and is helping us to navigate some of the changes in our act, which are challenging us to do a better job around engaging children and families in conversations about gender and identity. So we thank Jace and we thank Chad at 514 for their partnership in helping us to do this work in a good way. So Jace is here today to introduce our next guest, who again is a trailblazer in her own right, and I will let Jace set the stage here.
Sorry, I had to move the mic forward. I'm wearing heels and I didn't want to sink. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Jace Carver, and Charlotte said we Trans Support is Canada's first and only transgender drop-in center, and we've kind of expanded beyond that now. We are no longer just a trans drop-in center. We are now a queer and trans community health and wellness center, and we have a lot more exciting news to come in the next month about that. I'd like to thank WECAS for inviting us into your agency over this last year to work with your staff to better support queer and trans youth in Windsor-Essex. I am here to introduce Nona, but first I want to talk really briefly about traditional family values, right? We see these rollbacks in the United States and a little bit in Ontario about rolling back into traditional family values. So what I want to talk about is the queer and trans community. We too have our own traditional family values. deeply rooted in families of choice, where trans women have stood up historically and brought queer and trans youth into their homes and helped to guide them and become productive members of society and trailblazers. And that is the beginning. Let's talk about Stonewall. That is the beginning of the modern day Pride revolution. And that's how it started. So today I stand in front of you with our president, Jamie Defoe, a very strong and visible trans woman. And I also introduce to you Nona Abdullah, who is the newest We Trans support staff. We for too long have whitewashed the Pride movement, and Nona had come to me and said that she wanted to work with We Trans support specifically to start bringing queer and trans people of color into queer and trans spaces. Nona is a trailblazer. Nona, you don't even understand the strength and courage that you bring to an organization like ours, but to also a community like this. And so it is my humble honor to introduce to you We Trans Support's newest staff and the leader of the NAFS program, Nona Abdullah.
Good morning. My name is Nona Abdullah, and I started this group NAFS. It's meant for mostly immigrants from the Middle East, North African, Arabic regions. It's meant for people that come from areas where queer and trans people are very oppressed, and that sort of culture is brought on when they immigrate here. So my goal for this group is to educate this community and bring more information and whatnot. So we started the group, and it's going to go on for 6 months. A little bit about myself. My parents were refugees, and they came to Windsor, but I was born here and I was raised in Windsor. When I came out, I wasn't welcomed at all. I was brought on by violence, and I had to drop out of school. I had to run away. I became homeless, but now I'm doing great, and I'm able to live my life freely. Okay, let's go. Okay, so sorry, I don't do this a lot. I'm really new to this. Okay, so if you know anyone who's looking for a space to be comfortable, who you know that they won't be accepted by their family, the group is at the last Friday of every month at 6 at We Trans Center, and hopefully it helps a lot of people.
Again, everybody, at We Trans Support, we speak a lot about, creating new leaders. And we believe that Nona is going to be one of those leaders. And we always want to make sure that we never speak with one voice. Whenever we speak with one voice, many people go unsupported. And so Nona is going to be a big part of this next change at We Trans Support to be a more inclusive organization, to make sure that all voices are being heard, that all people are being supported. Today you can catch Nona over at our workshop that's being held at St. Clair Center of the Arts, Trans 101 Mental Health and Addictions. And Nona's going to bring a layer to that training that we've never had possible before. A real understanding of intersectionality and layers of oppression. Again, we no longer need to just look to cisgender heterosexual people to create what ideas of traditional family values should look like. Here are trans women, the history of our community. We will create families for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Nona. I know you're perhaps new to speaking, but I think this is far from your last engagement. And I think that our staff will definitely want to hear more from you. So thank you for all that you're doing to help others and help us widen our table. Finally, our final trailblazer is one of our own youth. one of the things we've been trying to do in all of our events and in all of our decision making is to engage more youth and bring more youth to the table. So we're really excited to have a youth speaking this year. Sam is a very active and engaged member of our YAC, which stands for Youth Advisory Committee. And we want to welcome Sam now to share some thoughts. Welcome, Sam.
Not very good with microphones. Can you sorry. Yes, thank you. As a youth in care, knowing that there are people I can talk to is important to me, as I'm sure it is for everyone here. There was a time in my life where I felt weak and broken down. But knowing that the LGBTQ+ community is out there made me change. I know I'm not alone, and you're not either. The scars, bruises, memories, they make us who we are. They give us a voice to tell people that it is not okay to treat us differently. We are you, and I am me. There is someone I would like to take a few seconds to acknowledge. Her name is Nancy Campana. She is a wonderful and amazing person who I had the wonderful opportunity to meet at this year's Outshine. She is brave, kind, and outrageously generous. She stopped me from doing something I would have regretted. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing your message and changing lives every day, and to everyone who made today possible. Make sure to get a cold glass of homemade lemonade provided by your youth and YAC.
All right, wow. Out of the mouth of babes. We couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, Sam, for sharing a little bit of your story. And thank you for acknowledging Nancy Campana and the Run for Rocky people. We're so glad that you could be here today. Nancy spoke at our very first flag raising just 3 years ago and continues to blaze the trail in support of our youth. So thank you so much for all you do, for your friendship and your partnership, and for supporting our kids. Thank you. And thank you to Sam. Wonderful job. All right. So just before we get ready to raise the flag here, we're going to do a bit of quick housekeeping. Just a few thanks that I want to make sure that we acknowledge. We wanted to acknowledge all of our community partners that are here today. We have Run for Rocky. We have Windsor Pride in the house. We have We Trans, of course, in the house. We have lots of great community partners. We have one of our board members, Vicki Houston, is here. We have Derek Nardini from the ministry who's with us today, Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services. We're still getting that one rolling off the tongue. So we're so thrilled that you could be here. And of course, thank you to all of our staff that take the time out to be here. We want to thank our incredible IT department, our incredible maintenance department, our digital communications, Paul Medved, our admin staff, and all of the staff that make this go. We want to thank our Gender and Sexual Diversity Committee, who are primarily volunteers that are our staff members as well as community partners that sit on that committee. We want to thank our YAC Youth and Justine for helping to coordinate our YAC Youth, and we want to thank all of you. So immediately after the ceremony, we're going to invite you to join us upstairs for lemonade on the 4th floor. Everybody is welcome. Our YAC Youth each year use this event to pay it forward. Of course, they fundraise for their own activities, but they also each year choose a charity that they want to fundraise as a way to pay it forward. And for the last 2 years, they fundraised for the Me to We program to send children to school in Kenya. This year, they wanted to kind of add a local element as well. So the proceeds of today's lemonade sale will be, how am I doing, guys? Am I doing a good plug here? Yeah? Okay. The proceeds of the lemonade sale will be divided between the Me to We project in Kenya and locally to We Trans support to support the wonderful efforts. And that was a choice by the youth themselves, made that decision. Okay? So as we get ready to raise our flags, we're going to turn things over to our Two-Spirit elder, and who is going to lead our flag raising. We have 4 of our youth that are going to assist with the raising of the flags: Michael, Dakota, Sam, and Kaylee, I believe.
Go ahead.
So you can go take your positions at the flags. All right, over you go, guys. All right, you ready? Oh, and Sebastian. Oh, Sebastian. We have Sebastian and Sam and Michael and Dakota. All right, and I will turn things over to Teresa as we get ready for the raising of the flags. Teresa?
These are words that come before all others. When two or more people meet, we send our greetings, our thanksgiving, and our love to the Creator. We also introduce ourselves with our spirit Indian name. Mine is Karjiajisto Hawi. She comes from the stars. I'm Upper Mohawk Turtle Clan, one of the people in Longhouse, and I try to follow a natural way of life. So until 1985, I was not considered a human being by the government. We were wards of the state. Until 1996, we were not allowed to raise our own children. They were taken from us and put in residential schools. So all this bias, all these negative thoughts for two-spirit people come across from the ships. We did not have that. Two-spirited people, trans people, were considered a gift to our community.
Yes.
They were special. They could see both sides. They were our healers, our counselors. They were our elders. So they were a gift to each community, each clan, and they were revered. And we didn't have coming out because we were told by our elders. I was told by my mom when I was about 6 years old that I would be two-spirited. But we didn't have that name because we didn't have labels. She would say, when you see a rainbow, you're not going to ask whether it's male or female. You're going to be attracted to that spirit. And you're going to be attracted to different spirits in your life, either to be a partner or be a teacher or just be a friend. So it's going to be different from you, from other people. You're gifted with sight. So this is a gift. And we have to reclaim this in our culture and reclaim it for mainstream that our two-spirit people are gifts to your community.
Yes.
And also our trans people are very special and blessed. You're honored to be in their presence because they're considered elders in the community. So with that, I'd like to start with an honor song from the Mi'kmaq Nation. I always use the Mi'kmaq Nations because it was those women that went to the world court to get our rights to be human beings in 1985. So I sing it, and it's the eagle song. The eagle flies highest. He's closest to Creator. See that there's friends here, so it's time to prepare. You guys ready? Eagle!
you, Teresa. Thank you to our youth. Thank you to everybody. We officially declare it Happy Pride Week in Windsor-Essex County. Thank you so much, and please join us upstairs for lemonade.